Welcome to Pantera Basketball Live. Today we are going to be talking about the Dallas Mavericks getting walked by the Oklahoma City Thunder, who did not look too young to win a game against a very battle-tested and very experienced and very good team in Dallas, who has a somewhat struggling, that's probably an understatement, superstar in Luka Doncic. We're definitely also going to talk about the Boston Celtics first game against the Cleveland Cavaliers and how the Cavs looked and how Derek White looked and what the Cavaliers can do to stay alive in this series. They stayed connected until about the third quarter, and then Derek White took over. It was a pretty balanced attack. I don't think the Boston Celtics gave them their best shot, and it didn't matter. They blew them out anyway. So we got a pair of blowouts, and we're going to talk about it. And let's first hear from Luka Doncic. And we will also connect all of this back to the Toronto Raptors because this is a Raptors podcast and will remain a Raptors podcast. But since the Raptors are not in the playoffs right now, we're going to have to talk about these other teams for now. But it got me thinking about the rule changes and the types of teams that are succeeding. So what I want to do is I want to take a look at how the Toronto Raptors, as currently constructed around Scotty Barnes, Freudian slip there. OG is gone. Let's have a moment to remember that. RJ Barrett, Emmanuel Quickley, and Jakob Poeltl. Let's take a look at how these pieces fare or look like compared to the teams that are succeeding, like the Boston Celtics, like the Oklahoma City Thunder. Obviously, the Raptors have a talent deficit relative to those teams, but do they have pieces that can grow into those types of pieces? Is there a certain synergy? Is there an overlap? Is there, teams that are most physical, teams that are younger, et cetera? Because the Raptors have, of course, set their sights on trying to model themselves after some of these younger teams. And let's just see how they compare. And maybe there are certain player types that are struggling. Like, for instance, a Darius Garland. Does that bode well or bode perhaps poorly for someone like Emmanuel Quickley? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about what the fair value for Emmanuel Quickley is this offseason. We'll definitely talk a little bit more Raptor stuff towards, let's say, the 20-minute mark. This won't be a super long live, I hope. There's a call-in link below. Call in if you'd like. We can talk about it. And please make sure to hit like and subscribe. We are slowly coming on our way to 10,000 subscribers. Okay, let's get to Luka Doncic, man.
Effort, making shots.
You guys have been down 1-0 a lot. It's familiar territory, so does that help you realize that, hey, this is not panic time?
At the end of the day, you gotta one team gotta get to the four wins, right? And obviously, we'd like to have game one, but you just gotta watch film, move on to the next one. There's a new game in 2 days, so we got another chance to win. Yeah, we just got to stop fouling him, especially in that first half. They shot 22 free throws. We just got to get our hands out and stop fouling, That gets guys in the rhythm, so then it's hard to stop them.
Luka, what more can you do to try and get the rim running game going you and Gaff? It seemed like y'all were struggling to get going.
Yeah, I think both D-Live and Gaff, have a lot of reservation. They just need to, I think we talk about playing off two legs and just go dunk it. If Chad's going to be up there, there's going to be a small down, and he just needs to, they both need to go and dunk that.
Dub does what he does in the fourth quarter and got it going and really opened up the game for us.
Yeah, Chad. Seemed like as the game was going along on your drives, you're getting a little bit more and more patient, just waiting to see where you can have an advantage. Where's your mindset on as the game went along?
Yeah, I just wanted to go out there and be aggressive, but make the right play. I feel like I did a pretty good job. I didn't convert on every single time down, but the other team's not just going to let you, so it's not going to be easy. I got to continue to come back and be better in that area, as well as other areas for the next game, and that's what we're going to do tomorrow at practice.
Hey, Chet, obviously a lot of talk about the scoring that Kyrie and Luka can do. Defensively, what were you most pleased with, just the way you guys handled them today?
It's easy to look at the outcome and, try and be satisfied with, what the outcome was tonight. But, we know those are two extremely great players with, a great team around them and, a great coaching staff. So they're going to throw all types of different looks at us. And, that's what we were trying to do tonight, throw different looks at them. And, they're going to adjust. They're going to watch film. They're going to do all that stuff and be ready for next game. So we got to continue to do the same. Obviously, you always want to come out on the winning side, and that's what we did tonight. But we understand there's no being pleased, in a playoff series. The series isn't over, so we still got a lot of work to do.
Chet, not focusing on the outcome of the defense, but the process. When you're hedging out on Luka on an island kind of on the perimeter, you got your reach up there trying to block his view. What's kind of your thought process? What are you evaluating as he's kind of probing and looking at what's going on behind you?
I'm just trying to do whatever I can to make it as hard as possible for him. It sounds like I'm trying to dumb it down for you, but I'm really not. That's all it is. Just be as active as I can and, make it as hard as we can on him. Again, great player who's been making huge plays for a long time. So, you just got to go make it as tough as you can and understand that, he's going to make big shots, make big plays, and that you just have to, kind of trust, what you prepared for and what the team's been doing to prepare and trust that that's going to, put you on the right path.
Has the physicality of the playoffs felt different to you?
Not necessarily. There's definitely a difference in how the physicality is reffed in a way. This isn't me attacking the refs in any way either. I feel like throughout the playoffs, it's been extremely fair. As long as it's even both ways, I don't care how you call the game. And the playoffs has been officiated in a more physical way. Letting more stuff slide, especially on loose ball plays, rebounding situations, stuff like that. Which, again, I'm not for or against as long as it's even, and I feel like it's been that.
Chet, there's been a lot said about you guys rebounding throughout the season. You guys actually out-rebounded them by quite a bit tonight. Nobody had double-digit rebounds. All you guys hit the glass pretty hard. You want to talk about your effort and your teammates' effort?
One more. Jay Will needed one more for the double-double, but it's all good. Yeah, he was big for us tonight with the rebounding stuff. When he gets in there, he really cleans the glass up. And, obviously all you guys have a talking point about rebounding. Rebounding is a huge part of the game. You don't win or lose the game based on who gets more rebounds. But, if you work super hard on defense, you want to get to go on offense the other way. And rebounding is, the way to do that. So we really key in on it. And I feel like everybody battled tonight. Again, I can be better in that area. A lot of times it's tough being in disadvantaged situations, trying to, guard multiple people to multiple actions, not being on somebody's body when the shot goes up necessarily, but, we're all focused on it and keyed in on it.
We wanted to take a look at everything tonight. We took a look at that. We went small there late, played different lineups, just to sample it and see what that gave us against this particular opponent. So we got, good looks at a lot of things tonight.
Getting to the free throw line is nothing new, but with the recent changes that we talked about before the game, just the change in physicality and officiating, what's happening, just what'd you like from, the way he got to the line and just seeing that in general?
Yeah, I thought the officials did a good job tonight. I thought they were very consistent from end to end. Obviously, we had some touch fouls on Doncic that were all fouls. We got to be better in those situations. They had similar situations on their end of things, and so we adapted to how the game was being called. I thought they called it straight up. So, we just played it from there.
You guys, it seemed like you guys broke open the game when Isaiah came in the game in the third. Just what did you see there, and from that point on?
Yeah, I just thought our rhythm in the second half was really good. And really in the second quarter, I thought we got a good groove going after a kind of a choppy start. But really intelligent attacks. We had a good blend of aggression and also taking what the defense gave us and, keeping them on their heels, keeping the ball ahead of them. They're really good when you slow down and allow them to kind of scheme and calibrate. And so I thought our pace both up the...
You mentioned the offense 16. There were some that you guys tapped out that didn't that you guys didn't get? What did you like about the effort that you guys gave?
Great activity. Yeah, I thought, especially early, we shot it really well as the game went on, but we didn't shoot it that great early. And so I thought those extra possessions, we manufactured some offense there and got some good stuff. So great effort on both ends of the floor from the guys tonight.
Obviously, there's always going to be a lot of talk about the youth of this team. They go on that run in the third. Looks like Kyrie's maybe going to get in one of his second half grooves that he's been in.
Yep.
Where is the kind of the calm and the poise to respond to that come from?
I think it's a muscle we've built at this point. We've had to endure a lot of those situations during the course of the season. I think a lot of it comes from respect for the opponent. Like, we know this is a heavyweight, matchup, and that this is a really good team, and that to think that you're going to go through games or a series when they don't land their punches is just unrealistic. And so they landed a couple punches there, and it's a long series. We have to be ready for a better version of them, coming out in game 2. We would expect that. And I think knowing that helps us in those moments, to just understand that, this is what they do. They're a really good team. They're here for a reason. They're really good players. We just got to stay with our.
Okay, so to keep things in balance, I do not think that the OKC Thunder have ended this series by any means. And I don't think Luka Doncic and Kyrie Irving sitting on the bench laughing during the game, as it was like a 20-point blowout, I don't think they felt that way either. This is a long series, and Crimson Chin saying, didn't watch the game, but did Dort and J-Dub slow down Luka? So here's the thing. I don't actually think that either of those guys are actually very good defenders on Luka Doncic. I understand why, in theory, people think that they would be able to do well, but if you look at the numbers, you look at the history, Luka has lit up this team. It's actually a really, really big reason why I think a lot of people have the Dallas Mavericks come out of this series. And even after this game, I think those people probably haven't changed their tune too much. Game ones are strange. First of all, just looking at the history of this, I looked at the numbers going into this series. Luka Doncic has not only lost the last 4 game ones, he's 1-5 all time in game ones. He's had 6 game ones and he's lost 5 of them. Now he's lost 6 of them. So he's 1-6 in game ones. Doesn't really hold up in game 2, 3, and 4. It doesn't really matter. He has a brilliant ability to move on, right? I thought that was so interesting because on the other hand, right, you have someone like Jamal Murray or some of the meltdown that we saw with the Denver Nuggets last night, where it didn't really feel like, now granted, that's a very severe situation. They've lost home court advantage. They lost 2 times at home. They got smoked at home by a team that they were not favored to beat. And here you are, the Dallas Mavericks on the road. You're not supposed to win this game. And you didn't. You got whooped. Your star got thoroughly outplayed. You got out rebounded. You lost the possession. You lost the possession battle, the points in the paint battle. You lost everything, right? You lose by 22 points to a team that I think the line was plus 3.5. This was supposed to be a close game. So when you lose this way, obviously Jason Kidd, can look at his team and say, hey, like, we were supposed to be close in this game. This was supposed to be competitive. But, at some point you have it, you don't have it. And I don't think, I just don't think Luka's right now. Now, he's never been a great jump shooter. I think that's somewhat of a misconception. And I've always mentioned that with him. Like, his numbers do not suggest that he's a great jump shooter. This year, he was a great jump shooter. And I think it sparked a lot of those 40-plus point games that he had. And a lot of the buzz for MVP was because that jump shot was going in. Right now, it's not going in. Right now, it is not going in. Someone said the retro Scotty jersey on the back. Yes, sir. Scotty Barnes jersey on the back. Yeah. So what I was saying is that I don't think that if Luka doesn't show up in this series that the Mavericks have a chance. But what I was, very impressed by was the Thunder's defense and their counterpunch, right? I think the Thunder showed a lot of composure, a lot of toughness. I think they showed preparedness, and I think what Mark Daignault is saying there is true. They showed them respect. They didn't come out and take them softly. Shea struggled early. a little bit in this game. I think he had a couple of turnovers that were a little uncharacteristic of him. Um, he just I don't know. He didn't feel right in the beginning, but then he picked up as the game went on. He got to the line, he drew fouls. The one component of this game, and I think it's obvious if you look at the numbers, Kason Wallace and Aaron Wiggins play significantly more minutes than Josh Giddey. Josh Giddey was -7 in his 17 minutes in a game that his team won by 22. Can we talk about the elephant in the room? Josh Giddey is basically unplayable. They are hiding bigs on him because he can't shoot. They dared him to shoot. He missed the rim. This has not been a good week for the 2021 NBA draft class. Let me put it this way. First, Franz Wagner shits the bed, goes 1 for 15. I can't even remember Jalen Suggs' line in that game, but I'm pretty sure he was like 2 for 15 or 2 for 12 or something like crazy like that, or 2 for 13. And then you have Evan Mobley, who can't make a layup. And earlier this, like 2 games straight, Evan Mobley looks disturbed. Like he looks like he's seen a ghost. And I don't get it, but this 2021 draft class is falling apart in front of our eyes, right? And it does not help that Scotty Barnes is sitting at home and he doesn't have a chance to redeem, this draft class. And it certainly does not help that Cade Cunningham will be sitting at home for the next five off seasons. It does not help that Jalen Green and Alperen Sengun are sitting at home. And it doesn't help that Herb Jones, who is, in my opinion, one of the top 5 players in that draft class, is pretty much sitting at home now as well. Everyone's in Cancun. 2021 draft class is all in Cancun. And if the Thunder continue to play Josh Giddey significant minutes in this series, with the way that he is being guarded by the Dallas Mavericks, he is a hindrance to his teammates. I don't understand how you can continue to play him. I understand it's like, you've invested a draft pick in him, right? But at some point, you have to keep the first thing, right? Now, camaraderie be damned, right? There are 5 players, in my opinion, there are 5 players who fit better with that starting lineup than Josh Giddey right now. Kason Wallace, yes. Isaiah Joe, yes. Aaron Wiggins, yes. Jalen Williams, yes. And probably Gordon Hayward, yes. That's 5 players. There are 5 players on your team that should be probably playing those 17 minutes. Is that crazy to say? That's not saying that Josh Giddey is worse than those players. That's saying that if you're going to use him as a corner spacer and a spot up shooter and a secondary creator, then yeah, Gordon Hayward's a better player. You know what I mean? Because it's not like Josh Giddey's some dynamite defender. It's not like he's a pretty good rebounder for his size and for his position. He's a pretty good rebounder. Let's just take a look at the overall game here. Josh Giddey manages to be -7. He is the only Thunder player other than Gordon Hayward, who played 7 minutes, who was -1. Nobody else was negative. Nobody. In those brilliant 17 minutes that he played, he went 0 for 2 from 3, 1 for 4 from the field, 5 rebounds, 2 assists, 1 block, 2 points. And his team won. Think about it, okay? On the other side, the Dallas Mavericks, they had their own struggles. Luka Doncic, 6 for 19, 1 for 8 from 3. And Kyrie Irving, who honestly at this point, I wish he'd stop just playing timid, and I wish he'd just take over the offense, because he is so much a better option, and he has been this entire playoffs, than Luka, who is hobbling right now. If they go through Kyrie right now, they might have been more competitive in this game. They wouldn't have won this game because, frankly, their defense is also an issue right now. PJ Washington gets into some foul trouble. I think Derrick Jones Jr. was great in terms of making shots early, but then he kind of quieted out. I think Daniel Gafford was a revelation. Every single time I watch this guy play, I keep thinking the Raptors probably could have traded for him, and it just pisses me off because I've loved him. Like, I've really liked him for a really long time. And, 16 points, 11 rebounds, and 5 blocks, including some very impressive ones. On the OKC Thunder side, I was thoroughly impressed with Chet Holmgren's paint defense. I don't think 3 blocks and 2 steals does justice to what this guy did in terms of rim deterrence and, just generally bothering and making people think. There's this thing about the psychological effect that you have on the opponent. How much do you scramble a defense if you catch the ball open from 3? You know what I mean? It doesn't matter if you make them. You can make a shot 32%, 33%, but do you scare the defense when you catch the ball and you're open? Like, do you create confusion? That to me is gravity. That's initially a term. Gravity was, I believe, the term gravity, which is now a part of the NBA lexicon. The first time I heard it was NBA storyteller talking about Steph Curry. And basically, he was talking about Steph Curry, and I believe that the conversation extended back to Shaquille O'Neal. And this is how we talk about gravity. See, if Shaquille O'Neal grabs the ball and he's 3 feet from the basket under single coverage, and the other guy guarding him is Brad Miller, guess what? A guard has to come down. That collapses the defense. If Luka Doncic gets one-on-one coverage 2 feet from the basket on a small defender, that's gravity, right? So the same thing can be said for defense. It's like taking gravity, giving gravity. Chet sucks out like gravity. It's like Victor Wembanyama. I like a diet Victor Wembanyama, you know? Like he's everywhere, right? And that makes you think. Like you like there was a video that we put on Instagram in which we just showed like how many times a defender would just not go at a Victor Wembanyama in the paint. It's very similar with Chet Holmgren, right? Where when you see him, you start to think like maybe I should pull up, maybe I shouldn't attack him. No one likes to get blocked. So, going into his body doesn't help as much because he is very physical. And, there were a lot of concerns coming into this season that his body wouldn't hold up and whatever. He played every single game. Played every single game this season. Kudos to him. I'm thoroughly impressed with him. J-Dub was awesome. He started out kind of slow and he picked it up late. I don't even think he had a point in the first half. I think he might have had like 2 points in the first half. He was very, very slow. But then he caught on late. And when he caught on, it was over. Like it became very over very quickly in the third to fourth quarter. To give you an idea of just how not close this game was, let's take a look at the win probability throughout, right? So this was never in doubt. Never. The closest it ever got in terms of win probability was when Dallas took a 3-point lead, 8 minutes to go in the second quarter. That means there was no collapse. There was no bend and break. I mean, the closest it got again was 65-66, at which point the Thunder were still 61% likely to win this game. And then they just put it away, right? And it was a lot of Jalen Williams right there. Because, again, like, young team on the road, is there, like, not on the road, in a new situation, second round, is there going to be panic? Are you going to start to not trust each other? Are you going to start to self-destruct? Are you going to try to go one-on-one? Are you going to start to go outside your team concept? Are you going to start to hang your head, your body language, loose plays, turnovers? These mistakes tend to pile for young teams, and I've seen it so many times. I saw it with young Raptor teams in the past, but it did not happen with this team. They had composure. Shea kept them composed. Chet kept them composed. I think Case and Wallace and Lou Dort were awesome tonight. I think Aaron Wiggins was awesome tonight. And I just think that, we need to give a really big round of applause to Mark Daignault and Sam Presti and the job that they have done putting this roster together and, preparing these young men, because quite frankly, they had no business being this good this early. And they are this good this early. There are a couple of rookies playing in this game that I think are worthy of mention, given the Raptor context. Case and Wallace, he was plus 13 in his 23 minutes. He hit 2 threes. He was a very, very formidable shooter for most of the season. He was north of 45% from 3-point range. He's a sniper, just doesn't take a lot of them. And then there was Aaron Wiggins, who hit 3 threes. So, I think, and then you had Jalen Williams, right, who had 9 rebounds. He was the second leading, rebounder for the Thunder. Shea Gilgeous-Alexander also got on the boards, 29, 9, and 9 line for Shea. And a very MVP-like performance and a very Luka-like performance from him, frankly. In terms of J-Dub, he was great, but Jalen Williams, J-Will, I thought he was great. I mean, he's been great. He's a second-round pick, need I remind you. He went 1 pick before Christian Koloko, if I remember correctly. And, in 17 minutes, I thought he was great. I mean, he's a stretch big. I was surprised. He fakes the 3, steps in, and has that little mid-range pull-up. I'm like, oh, man. The mid-range is back, by the way. Just a little sidebar here. If the score is going to be low, like how often are we now seeing an NBA team not break 100? I believe the mid-range could be back. And think about it. Just think about it. The reason that the mid-range wasn't back is because you just weren't as efficient offensively. But now, if the mid-range is available, it might be the best shot you got. So I think that, for teams like the Raptors, you're looking at Scotty, RJ, and, Emmanuel Quickly, where there's a lot of emphasis on not taking mid-range shots. Dude, start taking them because they might be back, especially the open ones. Anyways, not to harp on this, but really, I think this is going to be a long series. The earliest I think this series will end is Game 6 in OKC's Thunder's favor. If it goes 7, I really feel like the Mavs are going to be too much to beat in a Game 7. But the OKC Thunder have been counted out by me, by others, by everybody, because there's this old wisdom that they're simply too young. And I think that I should know more than most that age is nothing but a number, right? If you're ready to do things before, Draymond Green, it's a great example. Pretty mature guy sometimes, right? He's in his 30s, right? There are guys at 21, 22 who are just ready for these big moments. And I think the OKC Thunder showed that they were ready for a really big moment. I don't expect them to come out and get such a lax effort from the Mavericks. I think the Mavericks, being a veteran team with Kyrie and Luka and all the experience that they have between them, I do believe that they present a lot of problems for the Thunder. I think Derek Lively and Daniel Gafford present a ton of just rim pressure. I think Luka, if he wants to get to the line, can probably get to the line a little bit more. I think he'd be a lot more efficient with his jumper. It's not like he's missing them kind of like in and out. Like he's missing them blank. I think Maxi Kleber would help, but I don't think it would flip the series. So he's going to be out for 3 weeks. Overall, I'm not really sure where they go from here. I think, Green had a really good performance tonight with 3 threes. And they needed him, right? But overall, I think Luka Doncic has to be a lot better for them to have a chance in this series. And Daniel Gafford was awesome. Overall, I think Game 2 will be closer. And I think Game 3 will go to Dallas. I'll be very curious to see if the Thunder can steal one on the road. But they have a real home court advantage. That crowd is awesome. It's like a college town. It's awesome. So let's go over to the Boston Celtics versus the Cleveland Cavaliers, an equally, perhaps even more uncompetitive series. And unlike this series, I do think that series is over.
Donovan, you guys have now played 8 playoff games, and you've cracked the 100-point mark twice. What can you do to consistently generate more offense?
Continue to get into the paint and create, but we've gotten some good looks and missed. You know what I mean? Like especially tonight, we got 43s up and we only hit 11. You know what I mean? So we're getting the looks. I think the biggest thing now is just being able to hit and knock them down. We had 95 today, but just continue to get into the paint, and they're a good team. You know what I mean? When they make shots, still continuing to get out and push the pace and get our looks, but biggest thing is we got to hit shots.
What was working so well for you offensively tonight?
Just picking my spots, trying to find ways to continue to be aggressive, understanding that I'm going to need, to score the ball, you know what I mean, and especially in this series. So just trying to find my spots, pick them, and, I can be better, and I will. But that's the biggest thing, trying to pick my spots.
Joe. Can you tell in one playoff game what it'll take to win a series?
I mean, yes and no. I don't think you know everything, but I think you can see the formula of how, how to attack, how to put yourself in the group in the proper positions to succeed. I felt like we were right there until there was a possession where they got 3 or 4 offensive rebounds in a row. Just a momentum swing. They didn't even score. We got the foul or whatever it was. Like, that's just a momentum shift. They came out in the third. Drew hit a 3. I think D. White hit a 3. I forgot how it went down, but just coming out of the third, starting off better. And once they see a few go in, it's tough. So, for us, at one point we held in the field with 51 points, was it? It had that's, we're playing solid defense, but I feel like we, when you give a team like that extra possessions, give a team like that extra life, that's the biggest thing. So to answer your question, yes, I think you can figure some things out, but you got to continue to go. But we got to make some shots, and they're a high volume team, a high power team, so we'll be better next game.
And then I mean, obviously you've known Tatum and Brown well since at least 2019 with the China trip. But Derek was on that team too.
Yes, he was.
Did he have those clubs in his bag that he has now offensively?
I think yes and no. I mean, I feel like he's had some things, that he's definitely added to his game. I mean, I think he's a guy that's always, whatever you need from him. That's a big thing. A selfless guy that comes in is like, look, if it's tonight it's 25. Even last series he was averaging like 28 or whatever it was. And in some series he may go over, but he's doing other things defensively and different things. So he's definitely grown as a player. And obviously I've seen it throughout the years and whatnot. We've played against him in when I was in Utah. So it's the biggest thing now is just trying to find ways to contain it. When you got different guys that can go, for 25, 30. But he didn't. I wouldn't say he had all this, but he had some tools that you could see if he continued to work, he'd be, here.
Donovan, all season long, you guys were a defense that was built to protect the paint, keep teams out of the paint. Obviously, Boston's the best three-point shooting team in the NBA. How do you, if you do, maintain your defensive principles of protecting the paint, but also being able to guard the three?
Being better on the ball, I think, is the biggest thing. It's easy for me to say that, but just continuing to keep, being in early, being in your spots early, and then getting out to the perimeter, being better on your closeouts. The series is going to be really mental, making sure you're mentally there, and then being ready to get out. It's kind of the opposite of last series, So now it's being there, understanding where it's going to come and getting habits. And, it's game one. We're fresh off a different series, so just coming in and as a group, understanding that this is what it's going to take, and I think we look at the film and be better on Thursday.
You guys had an offensive drought when you were on the bench at the start of the second quarter, and then they went on a big run when you were on the bench in the start of the fourth quarter. How do you keep yourself from feeling like you have to do everything for this team?
I trust my guys. You know what I mean? That's kind of that's how I've always been. And it's one thing where we got to continue to run our offense. And like I said, it's one game and we'll be better at it. I think it sucks that we lost, but it's good to kind of see where we can improve at. You know what I mean? So not upset we lost, but not overreacting. It's like, okay, this is what happens. This is how we can improve. This is how we can get our looks. So I'm not one to typically overreact and feel like, damn, like, you know what I mean? I trust our guys, and we got guys that can really make plays. And so now it's like, all right, it's a different series, different group, different ways to score, different things. Isaac's being guarded by the 5 men. So different things we can learn, watch the film, and be like, all right, how do we attack in these scenarios, and we'll be better.
Donovan, you talked about mentality and knowing that Isaac has been one of your guys' best defenders. And tonight, Jaylen Brown got the best of him. How do you continue to speak life into him, knowing how important he is going to be on the defensive end?
I mean, it's one game. You know what I mean? At the end of the day, it is due. But, I think for Isaac, he's done so much this year alone. You know what I mean? Offensively, defensively, being guarded by a 5-man, now being a 5-man in our offense, after a different scenario in the other series. So for him, I'm continuing to be positive, but I don't think he's sweating. He understands that he can be better. We all can be better. We all do things, but also like he did a lot of really positive things as well for us to put us in positions offensively. So for him, it's one game. Move on to the next one.
Right. You've been in Darius's ear all throughout the playoffs. What does your message continue to be to him?
Say again, sorry.
What does your message continue to be to Darius?
Be aggressive. Continue to attack, find ways to get in the paint and create. This series is different. This series is, how do you have to think a little bit more. They're like they have a bunch of different things they can throw at you in different scenarios. So it's like, how do you, adjust? And, like I said, it sucks that we lost, but you have something on film that you can look at, dissect. But I'm always going to tell them to be aggressive. And that doesn't always mean shoot, doesn't always mean pass. It's just finding ways to be in the right position. So he's continuing to learn and build. And like I said, we'll all be better on Thursday.
And going from the 7 games that you played against the Magic that were all kind of like a slugfest for the most part.
Yeah.
How much of a shift is it to go to this kind of a game flow with the spacing and all that?
I mean, I think the biggest thing is just mentally understanding what's coming with it. It's, and understanding, we've played these guys before and it took them
I mean, it's completely different, to be honest. You're protecting the paint for 7 games, hammering home, and now you got to get out to guys, and it's not just like it's 2 guys. It's really 1 through 15. You know what I mean? So understanding that, but you got to go through a game like this. You got to get that to understand it. And like I said, we had a slugfest in game 1. I'm not using that as an excuse. They came in out here and did what they were supposed to do. Now we got to find a way to steal game 2.
Just following up, I was going to ask the same question, but Donovan, were you guys physically or mentally spent after that 7-game series?
I mean, you could point to that, but I'm not going to go there. I feel like there are things we can be better at. But I mean, yeah, 7-game series is taxing, having 1 day off and playing. But at the end of the day, we didn't do our job. So.
Again, just to reiterate, you've played these guys, so the pace isn't a mystery to you. But was it anything different tonight?
No, I think we knew what we were walking into. I think the biggest thing was offensively, they made shots. We shot 40% from the field, 26 from 3. So understanding that when they make shots, continue to push. Continue to get these rebounds. We get the rebounds, they don't get them. We're out in the break. When we're at our best. So it's the little things, So I think, just looking at the film, and like I said, it's an 8-point game, 10-point game, whatever it was, and next thing you know, it's 15. Especially the Peyton Pritchard 3, it was tough. I settled and shot a 3, could have got to the rim. Like those are the little things. You settle, give them 5 seconds. He comes down and hits a prayer, and next thing you know, it's a 15-point game. So it changes the whole complexity of the game. You know what I mean? So those are the little things that especially in this series, are going to be crucial.
Last one in the back.
Donovan, how tough is it or frustrating is it on a night like this when you guys did a great job on JT? He started 4-15, really was not on his game, was 7 of 19, and yet still, you guys end up losing by 25, and they actually pulled away in the 4th when he wasn't even on the floor.
I mean, that's who they are. They have different guys that can go, and they've shown it. So this isn't like a shock. It isn't like a deflating thing, because it's like, man, if it's not JT, it could be JB, it could be Al, it could be D.Y., it could be Drew Holiday, it could be Sam Hauser, Peyton Pritchard. They've shown that all season. So I don't think it's deflating. I don't think it's frustrating. I think you got to respect who's out there on the floor. And for us, we can be better. You know what I mean? I missed 13 shots. You know what I mean? I had 3 turnovers. There's so many different things you can point to. So, I think we did a pretty good job on JT, but the other guys got going. So we got to find a way to continue to contain everybody and be better on Thursday.
All right. Fun fact, the first of many fun facts. Just to take a look at the game here. The Cavaliers managed to lose this game by 14 points in the 11 minutes that Donovan Mitchell sat. He is doing everything for that team. He's been doing everything for that team for a really long time. This is the ultimate carry job. Y'all thought LeBron was carrying those Cavaliers. I mean, Donovan Mitchell might be carrying these Cavaliers more than LeBron was carrying those Cavaliers. I can't believe what I'm watching with Evan Mobley right now. I cannot believe what I'm watching. Really, his best teammates so far have pretty much been Isaac Okoro and Max Strus. Occasionally, Karis LeVert, Jared Allen when healthy. But where the hell are Darius Garland and Evan Mobley? We need them. Someone put out an APB for those guys, because, Evan Mobley manages to have 17 points and 13 rebounds on 8 for 12 shooting. Right? That's pretty efficient. You need more from him. You need more. On a night where Darius Garland is struggling, on a night where Kristaps Porzingis is not playing, on a night where, the Celtics, frankly, kill you on the glass with Luke Cornett. Luke Cornett was a revelation tonight. 4 points, 10 rebounds, including 6 offensive rebounds. 6 offensive rebounds, right? Now, Luke Cornett's got grown man strength, and Evan Mobley has got preteen strength. I get it. Al Horford wasn't anything to write home about. 7 points, 8 rebounds, 4 assists, 3 for 7 shooting, 1 for 5 from 3. He's got the reputation of being a stretch big, but he didn't shoot that great. The Cavaliers in desperation, for answers at the 5, start Isaac Okoro pretty much at the 5 because Evan Mobley just can't hang. And, he is a 39% 3-point shooter that they're not guarding. because they don't think that he's going to take enough to make to hurt him. And frankly, it doesn't matter if you're 39%, 37%, 36%. If teams don't respect you, they don't guard you, you don't doing shit. So, kudos to him for making the 3 for 8. Specifically to the point that Donovan Mitchell made in that press conference where he talked about the 3 that he missed. He went a little bit early, and then Peyton Pritchard comes down and he hits a 3. True that. So let's just go into where that happened. Hang on, that was the end of the third quarter, right? So I believe it was if he had made the 3, right? So it was right to end the third quarter. And these are the small things that really break your back because, mind you, 77-89 was when he took that shot, right? 77-89. If he makes the shot, 28-footer, at 6 seconds, it's 80-89 going into the fourth quarter. You're probably not going to win the game, but at least you're within 10 points. You miss the shot. Peyton Pritchard gets the rebound. Peyton Pritchard comes down. Darius Garland does not do a great job of defending him, and Peyton Pritchard hits a 3 that just, it's such a terrible feeling. There's this old LeBron quote that I bring up almost every week, which is 2 points are not 2 points, or in this case, 3 points are not 3 points. The 3 points that Peyton Pritchard hit right there were worth like 10. In terms of shifting momentum in this game. Not that momentum, and then he also identified there was this like 5 to 6 minute, there was like a one possession where the Celtics just gang offensive rebounded, right? And it was just offensive rebound, offensive rebound, offensive rebound. Where the hell was it? It was right here, right? Jayson Tatum misses a 25-foot shot. Drew Holiday offensive rebound. Al Horford misses a 23-foot shot. Drew Holiday offensive rebound. Drew Holiday misses a 24-foot shot. Celtics offensive team rebound. I believe that was Jaylen Brown. So, and then Darius Garland loose ball foul. Jaylen Brown misses a 23-foot shot. Another offensive rebound, and then a shot clock turnover. Dude, in those 30 seconds, this entire game shifted because it was a 10-point game. And again, it comes down again to presence, and it comes down to depth. I believe that the Cavaliers are playing players that have no business playing in a playoff rotation. Tristan Thompson and Marcus Morris Sr. What the fuck? This is 2023. I mean, if you are Kobe Altman and you are trying to convince Donovan Mitchell to stick around, you have to have more than Marcus Morris Sr., who is not an NBA player at this point. He's just not. He's not. I'm sorry. He's not an NBA player. Like I think the first thing he did when he came in was he forgot the shot clock. If I'm not mistaken, was that it? And then it was a comedy of errors. His minutes were terrible. And then you got Tristan Thompson, 16 minutes. There's nothing here. They're not guarding him. So you're just making life really hard for your other players. And then you got Evan Mobley, right? And I mean, it was a better showing for him in this game than it was, in the previous game. And he's still doing a lot defensively to the point of, who stopped Jayson Tatum? Jayson Tatum stopped Jayson Tatum, man. This guy was not good tonight. And he's one of my favorite players. I'll tell you, quite frankly, he settled so much. He took a 3 against Tristan Thompson. Like the next time he caught him on an island, he actually took it to the basket and he scored on him. He could have done that the first time too. So Jayson Tatum just kind of playing with his food. And unfortunately for him and for the Celtics, they will go as he goes. And, Jaylen Brown kind of had that killer instinct tonight. He comes out. I think he scored 15 points in the first quarter. He was incredible. 12 for 18, drew a ton of fouls, hit some threes. Really well-rounded game, 32 points from him. Derek White was my favorite player for the Celtics. Derek White and Drew Holiday were just incredible. They have so much. They played a terrible game and blew out a team in the second half. If this team, the Celtics are basically every game is basically the Boston Celtics versus the Boston Celtics. It's not even about the other team anymore. It doesn't even matter. You have to understand how good a player Drew Holiday is. I don't think people get it. I think Toronto Raptor fans, if you're a Raptor fan, you probably do get it because you remember there was a game last year where Drew Holiday pretty much, I think he lit the Raptors up for 34 points or something when he was their first option. He is that good, and he is still one of the best defenders in the league, and he is still just this incredibly pesky, intelligent playmaker. And I tell you, he's probably their 5th option on most nights. When Kristaps Porzingis is out there, he's like their 4th or 5th option every single night. Then you got the depth of Luke Cornett, Sam Hauser really didn't do much tonight, but Peyton Pritchard was a revelation as well. He took 10 threes. He made 4 of them. He went 5 for 12. He steadied that third string lineup in garbage time as well, making sure that, the Celtics kept adding to their lead, and they didn't fall apart. I think Xavier Tillman is a really, really good player. Watched him play in Memphis. I really wanted the Raptors to go after him. O'Shea Brissett, Raptor fans should be, familiar with him. Svi Mykhailiuk sitting at the end of the bench. I hope he can win a championship for Sviji's sake. But yeah, man, I'm telling you, man, like you can't have Marcus Morris Sr. and Tristan Thompson in your freaking playoff rotation. I'm pretty sure you can't have George Niang in your playoff rotation at this point. Sam Merrill has been good. He missed every single shot tonight, unfortunately, and he was negative 14 in the 17 minutes he played. He wasn't great tonight. But on most nights, Sam Merrill is a good player. Max Strus was pretty good, but he wasn't good tonight. He only had 5 points, 2 for 8. I thought defensively he competed, but he's complaining a little bit too much. And again, Donovan Mitchell was good. Who else is going to show up? That is a big question. Evan Mobley, putting him in positions where he is supposed to be a playmaker, that is working into the favor of the Boston Celtics. So again, I believe the Boston Celtics gave a D+ effort tonight. No, let's say I think the Boston Celtics gave a C+ effort, executed a D+ game plan, and won by 25. I think the Cleveland Cavaliers gave a C+ effort, executed a C+ game plan, and lost by 25. So this is what both teams are like when neither team is really sharp. So in order for the Cavaliers to win 2 games in this series, they're going to need to have 2 games where they are really, really sharp and the Celtics are really, really dull. Because I'll tell you right now, if both teams are sharp, the same thing happens. Same thing happens. If the Celtics come out and Jayson Tatum is dialed in, okay, let's be fair. Jayson Tatum did not have a great game offensively. Defensively, though, he was pretty good. Yeah, I think that's where I'll give him credit. He was pretty good defensively, but offensively, he was just kind of like going through the motions. I didn't like his game offensively. I didn't think it was tough enough. And, toughness is becoming a really, really big talking point in the NBA right now, given what is happening to the Denver Nuggets. Let's just look quickly at the team stats for a sec here. The Celtics, despite all their offensive rebounds, they narrowly win the shot differential margin, partially because they turned the ball over a lot more. 9 turnovers to 5 turnovers. So Cleveland Cavaliers, kudos to them. A lot of isolation basketball meant not a lot of turnovers. The Celtics they don't even get to 25 assists, which is just, it's not how they play. They win this game largely because they were more efficient from the 3. They were more efficient from the field. As Donovan Mitchell mentioned, they got up 42 threes, but they only made 11 of them. And that's probably not going to happen too many times. Sam Merrill does not go over very often, right? So the Celtics probably dodge a bullet where if the Cleveland Cavaliers even come out with a B+ effort, maybe this is like a 10-point win, right? Again, it's about effort. It's about health. If Jared Allen does not play in this series, there's no chance in hell that the Boston Celtics are not going to the Eastern Conference Finals. But this is still a team that, after years of playing with their food, still feels a little bit shaky to me. And so it gets me thinking, who would I take in a 7-game series between the Boston Celtics and the Minnesota Timberwolves? And I got to tell you right now, I'd take the Minnesota Timberwolves real easy, because the Minnesota Timberwolves do not play with their food at all. And I think I appreciate that about them. I do think I would take the Boston Celtics over the OKC Thunder or the Dallas Mavericks. Maybe even over the Denver Nuggets if Kristaps Porzingis is healthy. But I'm not sure I would take them over the Minnesota Timberwolves right now. Capital gains. Is White the Celtics' second best player? There's probably some analytics that would suggest he is the Celtics' second best player. There are other analytics that might suggest he's the 4th best player in the Celtics after Jaylen Brown, Jayson Tatum, and Kristaps Porzingis. Whether he is the 4th best player or the 2nd best player, I can definitely tell you he would be the best player on quite a few teams, including the Portland Trailblazers. He would probably be their best player. He'd probably be the best player on the Wizards. He's a really, really freaking good player. Like, I feel like he just has this role player face and this role player personality and this role player attitude and this role player style. And people just feel like, bro, like the guy can hoop. Like, he's a hooper. Like, he's a better player to me than Fred VanVleet ever was. Fred VanVleet became an all-star. So, yeah, I like Derek White a lot. I've liked him since his days in San Antonio. I think he's a really good player. I think the Celtics are very lucky to have him. And, they caught him in a fire sale from the San Antonio Spurs. Isn't it funny that the San Antonio Spurs got rid of 5 players? Thaddeus Young, Jakob Poeltl, DeJounte Murray, Derek White, right? And God, who was the 5th guy? DeMar DeRozan. And the Raptors ended up going for the 2 worst guys. Isn't that kind of funny? If you think about it, isn't that kind of funny? No, not so funny. Okay, let's not talk about that. And they pretty much got pick equity for all those guys. That's the crazy part. The Raptors gave up 4 draft picks for Thaddeus Young. Shit. That makes me sad. Okay. Let's move away from this and let's talk about something that's a little bit more present on my mind right now, which is what's the worst draft class in the last 4 years? Because right now, the 2021 draft class is shitting the bed pretty hard. So it got me thinking, 2020, 2021, 2022, 2023. What's the worst? I ran the poll on Twitter/X. If you follow Pinsari Basketball, Pinsari B-Ball, go vote right now. Poll is open for another probably 18, 19 hours. The 2021 draft class with Scotty Barnes, Cade Cunningham, Alperen Sengun, Franz Wagner is leading this charge by a mile. So it got me thinking, what was the most hyped draft class of all those 4 draft class? 2021. I would love to do a cross comparison between 2021, 3 years removed, and 2003, 3 years removed, and see how those players are comparing. Because I'll tell you right now that 2021 draft class was totally miscast as some superstar thing. The closest thing to a superstar in that entire draft class right now is Scotty Barnes. That's the closest thing to a superstar. That is not LeBron James. No shade on Scotty, but he's not LeBron 3 years in to his career. The second closest thing to a superstar in that draft class is probably Alperen Sengun, and he's no Carmelo Anthony. And the third closest thing to a superstar in that draft class is probably Franz Wagner or Trey Murphy, and neither one of those guys are touching D Wade. So I'm not sure where the hell the comparison to the 2003 draft class went, but I will tell you that I don't necessarily think that the 2021 draft class is the worst. I think 2022 might be worse overall. The reason I say that is not because, J-Dub is not amazing and Chet Holmgren is not amazing. These guys are amazing. Paolo is good. Paolo is really good. He's an all-star, and he's very young. The reason I say that is because I really appreciate the depth of the other classes. I think there's a lot of depth in those other classes. So I figure it might be worth looking at all those draft classes right now and just kind of making let's call it like an educated, not an educated guess, but more like it's just good to see. Let's just look at it, because the 2020 draft class, which was considered kind of weak, that's the last draft class that was considered really weak. The 2020 and the 2022 draft classes were both considered really weak. I can tell you right now, the 2020 probably clears the rest of the draft classes right now. Hang on one second. Let's just put this out here. Pull this up. And Key M saying they thought Cade was generational. Yeah, they sure did. Okay, here we go. So here's the 2020 draft class per Basketball Reference, and I will sort by value of replacement because that's my modus operandi. And Tyrese Halliburton leads the way, Anthony Edwards second, Desmond Bane third, LaMelo Ball fourth, Tyrese Maxey fifth, Emmanuel Quickley sixth. But after that, there is a massive fall off. 4 years in, Obi Toppin, Sadiq Bey, Onyeka Okongwu, Devin Vassell, Peyton Pritchard, Cole Anthony, etc. It's also worth noting that there are significant, and I will say significant, oh God, here we go. James Wiseman, massive bust so far, negative value replacement. Isaac Okoro, who we watched tonight, plays center for the Cavaliers, bit of a bust as well. Killian Hayes has been the massive bust. I think Isaac Okoro is really turning around his career, frankly. Onyeka Okongwu, TBD, he's been awesome in my book, but he hasn't played a lot, which is going to significantly impact his value of replacement because he doesn't play enough. Jalen Smith has been a role player. Devin Vassell is a role player. Denny Avdia is a very good role player, and I really like him. But again, role player. There's going to be plenty of Denny Diaz in this draft. So in terms of the 2020 draft class, it's really coming down to those 6 guys, those 6 players who have been head and shoulders above the rest. Is that a great draft class? Well, if Tyrese Halliburton can continue on what we saw earlier this year, which is, being a top 3 point guard in the NBA, if Anthony Edwards is the best shooting guard in the NBA, if Desmond Bane can be a top 5 shooting guard going forward for the rest of his career, top 5, top 6, and he certainly has that potential. If LaMelo Ball can be healthy, if Tyrese Maxey can continue on his trajectory, which is also going to be one of the top guards in the NBA for a very long time, given what he showed this year, and Emmanuel quickly really turned a corner. Yes, this is an incredible draft class. Let's talk about 2021, and that would be Scotty's draft class, and let's look at that and see how that's going. One sec here. So in terms of the 2021 draft class, when we do the same thing, sort by value of replacement, we have Scotty Barnes right at the top. Then you have Evan Mobley, Alperen Şengün, and Trey Murphy III. Josh Giddey, who is on a bit of a downtrend right now. Franz Wagner, Herb Jones, Jalen Johnson, Cade Cunningham. Now we're starting to fall into this is not great territory. What works well for this territory is we saw all of Jalen Green, Jalen Suggs, Jonathan Kuminga, Isaiah Jackson, and Cade Cunningham and Jalen Johnson show a lot more this year than they've shown in years past. We also saw Alperen Şengün and Scotty Barnes take a major step up. What's hurting this draft class is that Evan Mobley, who's easily supposed to be one of the biggest stars in this draft, and Josh Giddey probably trended down this year. And that's not good. Okay, that's not great. Because if you're holding your hopes of this draft class, and again, this draft class in aggregate is fine. But what we were expecting 3 years in was probably one guy to be in the 11 range here, another guy to be in the 7, 8 range here. So basically, Scotty is exactly where he should be, which is he's supposed to be the 2nd or 3rd best player in this draft. Then he's perfectly where he should be. There should be 2 guys ahead of him, and there's nobody ahead of him. And that's why this draft class kind of is a letdown. Let's look at 2022 so far. And granted, just so people realize, value of replacement is cumulative. Obviously, guys who are a little bit older are going to have higher value of replacement cumulatively, but it's just worth thinking about that Jalen Williams has, the best player in this draft class is Chet Holmgren. Can we agree on that? Yeah. He's nearly caught up to Jalen Williams in 60 plus less games. So yeah. I just want to point this out. Chet Holmgren has a higher value of replacement in 1 season than Paolo and Keegan do in 2. Can we just be clear about how clearly, obviously, Chet Holmgren is the best player in this draft class? Or are we going to continue to talk about how Paolo is better than him? Now, it's worth saying that Paolo is also trending up in a very big way. Jalen Duren, I have a lot of high hopes for that guy. Mark Williams. But the best players in this draft class so far, if we want to draw that same demarcation of the top 5 guys in this draft class, it's been these 5 guys. Walker Kessler, Paolo Banchero, Keegan Murray, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, J-Dub. Draft class strength is almost always going to come down to superstars. Are there superstars here? I think Jalen Williams and Chet Holmgren have that kind of potential. I think sneaky Paolo has that kind of potential. I don't see that potential in anybody else in this draft class. There ain't no other superstars here. 2 years in, I'm not confident in saying there's no superstars here. Jabari Smith did have a much better year this year, but to look at where these guys were actually picked, Jabari Smith, Jaden Ivey, Ben Mathurin, Shaedon Sharpe, who frankly missed a ton of games this year, but has flashed some stuff. Jeremy Sohan, who could be a serviceable role player to some extent. Ousmane Dieng, who was always going to be a bit of a project, but he's in the OKC pipeline, so maybe he'll be good. Jalen Duren, who I have a lot of hope for. Ochai Agbaji, who is probably, if I sort by value of replacement, is he the worst player in this draft class? He's close. He's 43rd. Oops. Yeah, that's what happens when you play before you're ready. You're bad. He's got a lower value replacement than Johnny Davis, but he's played a lot more minutes. So it's worth saying that, Jaden Ivey's also got a really low value replacement. So does Benedict Mathurin. I think with Jaden Ivey and Benedict Mathurin, at least those minutes have been earned to some extent. Malachi Brenham for the San Antonio Spurs, for all of their development chops, he has been pretty bad, and he's played a lot of minutes. Again, as I say, value replacement is going to suffer when you play a lot of minutes before you're ready. And in fairness, all those guys have played minutes before they were ready. Because if they were playing at OKC, if Ochai Agbaji or Jaden Ivey or any of these guys were playing OKC, they would not be playing over Cason Wallace. So I think that's worth saying. So far, okay, let's go to the 2023 draft class, which is the draft class we just saw. And you will notice that there is a Victor Wembanyama with a 3.8 value replacement standing far above the rest. But there is a second round guy in Trace Jackson Davis who is standing in second. Amen Thompson, Cason Wallace, Brandon Pajimski, Derek Lively, Cam Whitmore, Jarris Walker, Leonard Miller. That's it. So there is the top of this draft class. And I think the best place to probably draw the line is here. These are the 6 guys. I'm actually surprised Jaime Jaquez is not a little bit higher here. He tailed off a little bit. But there is this draft class. There are other guys in this draft class, in my opinion, like Brandon Miller, Scoot Henderson, Asar Thompson, Anthony Black, Bilal Coulibaly, Jarris Walker, Taylor Hendricks, Grady Dick. Notice I just skipped over Jet Howard because I've kind of lost faith, but Jordan Hawkins, Keontae George to some extent, Jaime Jaquez. This is one of the coolest draft classes I've seen in a long time because there's like 35 NBA players here. Ben Shepherd, yup, he's playing really well. Omax Prosper, he's shown some stuff. Dariq Whitehead, I have faith. Noah Clowney, I have faith. Like there's a lot of guys here where I'm like, oh man, like Jalen Pickett. There's probably a future there in the NBA. Leonard Miller, probably a future. Julian Strawther, probably a future NBA player. You know, Gigi Jackson, he was freaking awesome. So this might be one of my favorite draft classes. Imani Bates, he was pretty good too. So, I mean, I'm looking at the 2023 draft class like, whoa. So here's, did I just do all of this for nothing? No. Here's my point. You can't always say this draft class is bad, and so we not going to get anything there, because worth noting, we don't know. We don't know. Sometimes you think you know who a player is, and then they surprise you. I don't think anyone saw Anthony Edwards doing this ever, much less at 22. I don't think. Do you know that? I want to say 3 to 4 months before the 2022 draft, Paolo Banchero was mocked 5th overall. Okay, Chet has been known as like the top guy in that draft for a very, very long time, and you know it took the Magic taking Paolo first to screw that up. But in fairness, I mean, Paolo is definitely not the 5th best player in that draft class, right? I mean, he's a pretty good player. And that was a weak draft class. He was the 5th player mocked in a weak draft class. Who's that right now? Is there a Paolo in this draft class? It's worth noting. We'll see. We'll see. Is that a Nikola Topic? Like, does he have, like, I'm not saying he's Paolo, but I'm saying, like, is he going to be Paolo good? Because he's kind of in the same place that Paolo was. He's being mocked around 5th in a weak draft class. Or, you know, you take a look at a Walker Kessler. He was mocked in the 40s to 50s. That was his range. And now he's probably one of the top 6-7 centers in the league in terms of young guys. You look at Jalen Duren, he slipped. You look at Cam Whitmore, he slipped. I mean, there's so many guys. I mean, you just never know. You never know, right? And so I think with the Raptors, I think it's worth saying that, you know, you could end up getting real rotation players if you work at it with 19 and 31, and possibly with this top 6 pick if you keep it. Moving on to the teams that are succeeding right now and how they're succeeding. I take a look at the teams that are succeeding right now defensively, especially what the Minnesota Timberwolves are doing, and I try to compare it to what the Raptors were trying to do last year. And I'm like, how far were the Raptors when you think about the personnel that they had? Yeah, Precious Achiuwa, OG Anunoby, and now we're hearing like, hey, the Wolves are so good because they have this incredible, you know, defender, They have this length and they're big and they're strong. And I'm just like, didn't the Raptors try to do this with their Vision 6'9"? But what is it that they were lacking that this Wolves team has perfected? So I think it's two things. Okay. Number one, what they were lacking was an elite anchor. Jakob Poeltl ain't it. As an elite anchor, I kind of pointed this out when the Raptors traded for him, that he's kind of lost a step at the rim. I'm talking about a guy like that can just clean up everything at the rim, which is interesting because they've kind of passed up several opportunities to draft that player by trading away picks, guys like Walker Kessler, right? So will they potentially finally lean into that player type this year? Because they tried to do that with Christian Koloko, right? They obviously identified that as a vital need to their defensive needs. Okay. The second thing they needed was great point of attack defense. You don't have it with Gary, and you didn't have it with Fred because Fred was compromised. Fred's never been like the greatest point of attack defender, but he was better when he was younger. As he gotten older, he's just a smart team defender, kind of like a Kyle Anderson or a Mike Conley or whatever. Like, these guys get away on the analytics sheet, but if you expose them east-west, north-south in transition, cross-matching, etc., they're going to get exposed. So I'm looking at how the Timberwolves dig into teams, and I'm like, I don't think the Raptors could have done that with the rules the way they were last year. So do the rule changes that the NBA has implemented, because the Raptors haven't been whole since these rules were implemented. If you realize Jakob Poeltl missed most of the second half of the season, Scotty Barnes missed like the last 20 plus games. Rob, can you see a path where the Raptors draft all three of their picks if they get to keep their lottery pick? If you do you see them looking at Cody Williams? I don't. Okay, so you clearly are a very big Cody Williams fan. What do you like about him other than the fact that he's Jalen Williams' brother? Because I'm not super high on him, but I understand why you like him. I've gone as high as like 5th on him, but I keep having thoughts about him. So I'll definitely talk a lot more about Cody Williams and all the other players that are eligible for that top 6 pick once we determine on Sunday whether the Raptors are keeping this pick. And that day is edging closer and closer. And I'm getting kind of nervous because I'm still not sure if I want to keep it or if I want them to lose it. But either way, what I am saying is that value is found everywhere in the draft. If you know what you're looking for, you'll find it. And if you don't find it, if you can't find it, trade for it. Picks are valuable. Yes, even the 19th pick in a somewhat shitty draft will be able to net you something. Also, somewhat ironic. I went back and I looked at my Christmas wish list. If y'all remember, I did a Christmas wish list episode. Do you know that I pretty much used a picture of Kelly Olynyk and I said one of my wishes for the Raptors, apart from a few things that I got, Dennis Schroeder being traded, Scotty Barnes becoming an all-star, a competent stretch big, and I had a picture of Kelly Olynyk. I completely forgot about that. So to all the people saying, yo, like nobody called the Raptors trading for Kelly Olynyk, I sort of did. And I had a picture of Kelly Olynyk, and that was on December 25th. We didn't trade for Kelly until like a month later. So, okay. So my point is, the Raptors didn't really get a chance to test themselves out in this new, because they were missing their 2 best defenders for like the last 20 plus games, right? So you don't really know, right? You saw improvements from Emmanuel Quickley, you saw improvements from RJ Barrett, you saw improvements from Grady Dick. You just length, versatility, defensive upside, and he has shown some shooting potential. Sure. Yeah, I mean, I think let's take a look at NBA Draft Room and let's just see where they have their mock draft right now. I'll be very curious to see it. Honestly, I've been trying to zone out of the draft as much as I can for just to get a fresh eye, because you keep looking at Alex Sarr tape over and over and over for like weeks, and you start to just not see it anymore. You know what I mean? I think it's a great thing to just sort of stare away from something. Okay, let me just see here. Okay. So, NBA Draft Room has... Is this... Where the hell are we here? Okay. NBA Draft Room So they have Alex Sarr, Zachary Risache, Donovan Clingan, Nikola Topic, and Stefan Castle. They have Cody Williams going all the way at nice. They've had this less bouncy T-Mac comparison, which I don't really agree with, but sure. Dalton Connect moving up, really interesting. Ron Holland moving way down, which I find also very interesting. I definitely see the RJ Barrett comparison, though. That is interesting. The worst comparison I've ever seen is Zach Edey being compared to Yao Ming Light. That's crazy. This is the guy that I would hopefully pick, and that's Yus Misi. I can't say enough good things about this guy. I just really like him. I suspect he will measure out with a longer wingspan than 7'2.5". I feel like he has like a 7'4" wingspan or something. So yeah, I don't know. Continue the tradition of the Raptors drafting Cameroonian players. It's worked out pretty well the last 2 times. So keep doing it. And Khalil Ware, it seems like every big is getting compared to Jared Allen, which is kind of funny. Lorenzen Wright is a really wild comparison. If you know the Lorenzen Wright story, that's like strange. Kyle Filipowski being compared to Keith Van Horn is criminally insane. I don't like draft comparisons. Am I getting to a point where I'm too old for draft comparisons? Also, a Josh Hart comparison is wow. Isaiah Collier, bulky Stephon Marbury. Bro, what are these comparisons right now? Are you telling me that the Raptors are apparently taking Isaiah Collier? If you think Isaiah Collier is getting past the Lakers at 17, you're crazy. Yeah, he's definitely going to the Lakers. USC, player with high upside. Yeah, that has Lakers written all over it. Yeah, I'm shocked that Zach Edey is at 13th on this mock draft, man. Shocked. Anyway, Rob Dillingham, I'm moving up on it to some extent. Also, I'm not really sure why they have this at 7. Like, why do they have the Raptors already down to 7? Shouldn't they have the Raptors at 6? Or do they change it every time? Oh, what the? That's weird. They already gave the Spurs the pick. Isn't that strange? Do they know something that we don't know? Let the internet conspiracy theorists out on this one. That's so strange. Misi's energy is insane. I agree, and I also think he's hella smart. Would you rather have the number 1 pick in this draft or 2 picks ranging 7 to 17? I mean, 2 picks ranging 7 to 17 is very, very, very vague. You have to give me specifics. Are you saying picks 7 and 17? Or are you saying picks 7 and 8, 7 and 9, 7 and 10? Because that makes a difference. Would I rather have the number 1 pick or 7 and 10? I'd rather have 7 and 10. Would I have the number 1 pick rather than 7 and 17? I'd rather have the number 1 pick. So it's a little bit, vague. Who is the best top 6 player to pair with BBQ? When you say top 6 player, like top 6 player in the NBA, who's the best top 6 player to pair with those guys? Probably. Geez, who are the top 6 players? 7 and 14 in this draft, for example. That's interesting. Number 1 or 7 and 14? Probably take 7 and 14. Yeah, I would rather have 7 and 14. Yeah, because I still think at 14 you can get like there's so much parity in that top range. Yeah. Yeah, I'm trying to think of like top 6 players. Like, who are the top 6 players in the NBA right now? Luka, Shea. I guess Shea makes a lot of sense, right? Because he's Canadian. That's part of it. To be honest, you'd be crazy not to go for Joel Embiid. But I don't like him. But yeah, in terms of synergistic fit, like Joel with RJ, Scotty, and Emmanuel Quickly is like yeah, it's a wrap. Like, I mean, you could argue he hasn't had a teammate. Like, you could make an argument that it would be horrible, but he can space the floor, he can shoot threes, he's a stretch big, he's competent defensively. Not competent defensively, he's one of the best. He's probably the best defender in the NBA when he's right. If he wants to be, he can be the best defender in the NBA. So yeah, probably Joel Embiid if Joel Embiid wasn't Joel Embiid, which is to say if he didn't have all the extracurriculars and all that stuff, just from a basketball fit. If not Joel Embiid, then I don't know. Anthony Edwards. Anthony Edwards would be great. Who in this draft is most similar to Joel? Nobody. There's no Joel Embiids in this draft. I don't even give a shit about most similar. There's like one guy who might be like 10% similar to him. There's no one athletically close to Joel Embiid. The functional athleticism that guy has, that has size, is just, it's not. If there was even a discount Joel Embiid, he'd be the number one pick, and he would have been the number one pick like a year ago. You know what I mean? Yeah, I don't know. Okay. Yeah, I guess that'll end it. I will share something somewhat like personal, I guess. I don't know. I've debated whether I should share this or not, because it is very personal actually, but I figured since it's had a happy resolution and I'm not so worried about it now, I can share it. So I'm 36 years old, and I don't know if you realize this, but a lot of men in their 30s start to lose their hair. In fact, I have friends who started losing their hair in their 20s, and I always felt really bad because I know that hair loss can affect men's self-esteem in a really significant way. I've seen guys just straight up give up. Like, I've seen guys go for hair transplants. I've seen guys do all sorts of shit. And hair loss is not run in my family. So 3 years ago, I started noticing a lot of shedding, like right around here. And I started itching my scalp a lot. And I explored a ton of options in terms of what it could be. Is it dandruff? Is it the smoking? Is it, stress? Is it whatever? Because why am I losing my hair? I just didn't understand it. And I started exploring all these options. And as I continued to explore options, I started to be like really scared of just straightening out my hair. Because when you wet your hair and you straighten it out, if you've ever lost your hair, it's a very, very daunting feeling every single day looking in the mirror and seeing less and less and less and more scalp. And for me, it's worse because I have white skin and dark hair. So that is like the worst, because I don't sound like I have blonde hair where it's going to be unnoticeable. And when I was at Penn Dance this year, I really noticed it because someone took a picture of me and there was just like this gap. And I also noticed it when I was doing this interview with Brian. And when I was doing this interview with Brian, I dipped my head low. Like, I went like this, and I noticed like a bit of a spot. And I was like, oh my God, what am I going to do? And I started to freak out. And if you've never lost your hair, you do not understand this. Don't even try to tell me it's not a big deal. People still love you. It doesn't matter. It's very scary. And it was very scary for me. So I started to explore what it might be. And I started to think it's because of my girlfriend's cat. And this was the only logical thing. I kept scratching my head. I felt like maybe I'm scratching my head because I'm allergic to this cat. I'm definitely allergic to my girlfriend's cat. We got into fight after fight after fight about, what to do about this. What can we do? Can we clean the surfaces more? Can we vacuum more? Can we keep this cat outside of this room and that room? All sorts of stuff. And then eventually, I started to invest in some products to help. I tried derma stamping, which, to those of you who don't know, is just like microneedling your head. I tried just microneedling, and it wasn't just in the spot that typically men lose hair. It was like here, but then it was also a little bit here, and it was a little bit here. And you might notice for a little while, I just wore a cap because I didn't know at what point I was going to dip my head and there's going to be like some random bald spot somewhere. And it was starting to freak me out to the point where, I got to be honest, like, I just started to like stop trying about things. Like, I stopped going to the gym as much. I started to feel really sad and kind of depressed about it, to be honest. Like, it felt like something I couldn't control. And every day I would look, and it was less and less and less. Anyways, I made a goal, 2022 New Year's, to have positive hair growth this year. And it's such a weird goal because it's like, how the fuck are you supposed to control that? And um, I decided to try and do something like before this became a real issue. And I'm sure most of you didn't even notice. I don't think anyone noticed. Honestly, it was just me. Even I was just the one pointing at it because it brought me back to my comment yesterday about standards. I have a standard for my hair. Like, I'm not one of those guys who's going to lose all my hair and then start reacting to it. I'm a guy who's going to lose hair for 3 days and then start freaking out. I've always been this way. I'm not the person who hits rock bottom and then starts worrying about it. I'm the guy who's like $2,000 short and like, I don't know how to explain it, but like, I feel like a lot of people wait really, really long to do something about things. And I'm not that person. I'm pretty proactive about things. And so I started to, think about controlling things that I can control. I can control my diet. I can control iron intake. I can control water intake. I can control, quitting smoking. I can control whether I use certain products. Then I started investing in something with biotin in it. So it's like a spray. It's like $140. It's a spray. You massage it into your head every single day, and it's supposed to help. Then I got a shampoo. I forget what it's called, Neositol something from Shoppers Drug Mart. It's supposed to treat it's supposed to be anti-dandruff, but it's also got this like particular drug which is supposed to be antifungal. And I thought maybe if this cat has a fungus or something, then maybe that's what's causing a little bit of hair loss. That really helped. There we go. Nizoral. There we go. That's what it is. So that really seemed to help. It helped with the shedding. I wasn't losing as much hair every single day. So when I would brush my hair or I would comb my hair, I was not losing very much hair. So that was very helpful. And it's not that much. It's like a blue bottle. It costs like $20. It's really not that much. Then I hit rock bottom with this hair loss battle. And I finally went and got Rogaine, which is minoxidil, right? Now I had a real aversion to Rogaine because I'm like, yo, the minute I start using this, I got to use this for the rest of my life. And I'd always heard some horrible things about, oh, you gotta, I don't know, you use it, you gotta use it forever. It smells, it's this, it's that, whatever. So I got it and then I left it under the sink. I didn't want to use it. I was just like, let me just try to use the shampoo Nizoral and let me just see if that'll make it better. And I did start to see results. I started to see it get better and better and better to the point where, my hair no longer was embarrassing. But I got to be honest, like I continued to sort of part my hair or put my hair back. I didn't want to straighten my hair out. I still had to think about my hair. You know what I mean? And then came the day that I wanted to return the Rogaine because I was finally seeing results with the Nizoral and with the Derma roller and all that stuff. And also, we started vacuuming a lot more. We started keeping the cat out, and my girlfriend started to, I don't know, like the cat has dander, so she puts this thing on the cat, and then it takes the dander off. So basically, I stopped having allergic reactions to the cat. My head stopped itching as much. I was using the shampoo. The shampoo was creating like less breakage and less shedding, and overall, like my quitting smoking was also helping probably blood circulation. Blood circulation has a lot to do with hair growth, et cetera, et cetera, et cetera. So all of this thing was happening positively. So I was like, I don't need the Rogaine. But partially, I was just like, maybe I should try it, But then I was like, it's $180. So I wanted to return it. So I called up the shoppers that I thought I bought it at, and they agreed to take it back, even though it was over the 30 days. And I show up, she looks at the receipt. She's like, this was not bought at our shoppers. It's bought at another shoppers. I call that shoppers. They won't take it back. I'm so mad. I'm so mad because I just lost 2 jobs that I was supposed to do this summer, which were going to pay like $15,000. They were like both gigs, featured gigs, editing gigs that were supposed to pay a lot of money. This channel has been making a lot of money because I've been doing a lot with this channel over the last few months. And I just spent like nearly $2,000 on video games like a crazy person. I need this $200. So I was begging for this person to take it back. I'm like, bro, like, come on. Like, I haven't opened it, blah, 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 blah. They did not agree. So I decided to research, what the side effects were because I was scared. I was like, this is serious. You're like taking a real hair loss product. And I didn't want to just throw it away. You know what I mean? It's $200. So I was like, what's the worst that could happen, right? I'm already, doing everything else. Let me try this. I heard that 3 months is what it's going to take before you see any results. I promise you, I started using this shit last week. I already saw crazy results to the point where today I wet my hair, I straightened it out, and I cannot see any scalp at all. That's insane. I don't think I've had this much hair in like 10 years. So I don't know if it's a combination of everything. I don't know if I'm like the 1 in a million person who responds to Rogaine in like 12 minutes. But whatever it was, I'm very thankful for it because I can tell you that my mood improved immediately when I did not see scalp. And again, I'm probably really being over dramatic about this. I got to be honest. Like I tried asking people, I'm like, do you see it? You see it? They're like, no. I'm like, you don't see the scalp. You learn something about me. I panic before it's time to actually panic. I pre-panic. I pre-panic on everything. I pre-panic about the economy. I pre-panic about money. I pre-panic about everything. Like we have like 2 weeks where the channel doesn't grow. I'm already panicking. So me, I'm just a pretty anxious person in general. I've been an anxious person since I was a child. And so, Rogaine is great if the cause isn't genetics. It sucks when it is. That might be it. That might be it. And that's what I always heard, that Rogaine was for if you had male pattern baldness. And I'm like, I don't have male pattern baldness. I am losing patches of my hair because of this crazy ass cat. And it was really damaging my self-esteem. I gotta be really honest with you. I've never had any identification with bald men. I gotta be honest. When I was really young, I kind of was. I made light of it. I remember this girl that I was really into, and she ended up going and marrying this guy who was bald. I really hope he doesn't see this. And I ended up like fucking making so much fun of that. I was an immature 21-year-old. I apologize to anyone who has lost their hair or is starting to lose their hair. I will tell you, ignoring it does not make it go away. Being proactive will probably help you. I got to say, I'm probably very, very lucky that it's not genetic with me and that it was some external issue and that it's being solved by just drinking water and iron and whatever. But I've also, because of this, I had to study a lot about, hair loss and stuff. And I got to tell you that I know a lot of people who have had positive results even after they've lost most of their hair with this stuff. So I think it's worth trying. Not that I'm advocating that you take drugs or do that. And quite frankly, if you're a better person than me and if you're a bigger person than me, you can just rock it and you can just shave your head. I wish I could. I wish, I have scars all over my head. I got stitches 11 times when I was a kid. I'm not looking forward to losing my hair because I have just jagged scars all over my head. So maybe that's part of it too. But anyways, I thought I would share that to anyone out there who maybe is struggling with a little bit of either hair loss or a backache or a toothache or, whatever. Deal with it. There's a health clinic that I used to walk past. I used to run a dog walking company like 15 years ago. When I'm talking about 10 years ago, I was running a dog walking company in the annex, and there was a store that used to walk past. It was like a health clinic, and they said that the most dangerous words in the English language are, "I thought it would just go away by itself." Those are the most dangerous words. Being proactive is good. It puts you into action, and I feel really good. I'm glad that I put it on I'm glad that I put it on my New Year's resolution list. Rob will have positive hair growth in 2024. I hope this is not a fluke. I hope this lasts because I'm glad, but yeah, man, I don't want to wear baseball caps indoors. I didn't want to, yeah, I don't know. It showed me a side of myself that was very vain and very superficial and, cared about that stuff. And generally, I don't care. I mean, you'll see me walking around in flip-flops and shorts and, stained shirts and, with my hair all messy and my beard all, crazy. I just don't care about my looks. But for some reason, less sex also helps. For real? That's crazy. Well, retaining minerals helps many things. Apparently, it helps in certain ways. I'm not going to turn this into a NoFap channel because we have a sizable female population that watches this, but I will tell you NoFap is worth exploring. Stealthy elements. I'm glad to see some videos. Been struggling to fill the void. Thanks, man. Appreciate it so much. We don't advocate for less sex. Yeah. But maybe a little less self stuff, you know, like yeah, it might be good for your concentration. I gotta say. Anyways, I'm happy that this was a positive outcome. I gotta tell you, the Toronto media scene is pretty. Okay, here's another really fun fact. I was playing GTA 4 with my girlfriend the other day, and there's a radio station on GTA 4 that just talks like bare nonsense about the news. Do you realize that they say Michael Grange's name in that? I'm sure it's not that Michael Grange, but it is in relation to a Michael Grange, and I believe it is Michael Grange being a pedophile. Really random fact. Sean, thanks a lot, man. I knew it was you. I can tell. But yeah, thanks a lot, man. Appreciate it. Yeah, so yeah, I don't know. Hair loss is a really serious thing, man. And I got to tell you, like, I was always shocked when I saw friends of mine in their 20s experiencing it, because I was just like, why, how, what, you know? And there was always a detached sort of empathy, but now there's like a real empathy with it. So now when I'm like, I don't know, I don't know to any of you who've ever lost your hair, I got to tell you, when I go downtown, like the last year and a half since I've been kind of going through this, when I would go downtown, I would start to notice all of it. And it was like every second person was experiencing some level of hair loss. And I was just like, shit, how did I never notice this before? Probably because I don't look at guys otherwise. But yeah, like it's really everywhere. And it was just very young people, you know, it was very young people. So yeah. I don't know if I'm out of it yet, but I can tell you, like I haven't seen this much hair on my head in like 3 years. So I'm very, very, very happy. I've been shaving my head since my 20s to avoid the inevitable. Is that why you wear a baseball cap? I'm curious. Try minoxidil. It's our lifestyle that contributes to hair loss, but your hair looks great, to be honest. Thanks, appreciate it. I also think certain people have like a head shape that can pull off being bald like really well. Like I don't think I have a Vin Diesel head shape. I think I have a misshapen head, and it's kind of squarish, and I'm really scared to know what it looks like bald, because I have a picture of myself from when I was a child, and I look really funny bald. Actually, I'm really curious if I can find a picture of myself from when I was a kid. I will share kid pictures at some point. That'd be weird, but yeah. Anyways, guys, I'll talk to you guys later, and it's okay, bro. I got a bigger box head. There you go. I don't actually feel good because other people feel bad. Just an FYI. But yeah. Anyways, all right. Talk to you guys later. And you know, tough loss for the road teams, but that's why they made it a 7-game series. We don't live and die on game 1. I will tell you, however, that Denver series. Does anyone think that Denver still has a chance to come back in that series, though? They have to win 4 out of 5, right? 4 out of 5. I have a feeling they get one in Minnesota. And until I see them not get one in Minnesota, I'm gonna keep saying I think they're gonna get one in Minnesota. Infitech saying Wolves in 6. I think it's gonna be Wolves in 5 or Wolves in 7. I don't think they're winning game 6 in Denver, bro. Wait a second. No, game 6 would be, oh shit, my bad. Game 6 would be in Minnesota. Yeah, Wolves in 6 makes sense. When you have the MVP, there's always a chance. Nikola Jokic might have to go for like 45 points, 50 points for them to have a chance. Doesn't matter. Knicks are winning it all. They are most certainly not. However, I will say what's interesting is that the OKC Thunder guard like crazy. The Knicks guard like crazy. The Boston Celtics are a really good defensive team. And the Wolves guard like crazy. Defense is back, man. Defense is back. And it just makes me think the Raptors had a really, really interesting time to get rid of OG Anunoby, man. They need to replace that guy somehow. I don't know how you replace him, whether you develop that guy. I also got to say, I was kind of on this tangent earlier. I do think that this league is going to be more Scotty friendly. If the rules stay the way they are, it favors Scotty Barnes a lot. Anyways, talk to you guys later, both defensively and offensively. Anyways, I'll talk to you guys later, and have a good night. Peace.